Hi, my name is Derek Shaw, and this is my wife, Rachel.
And this is our story.
We met in Seminole, Oklahoma in 1997. Rachel was leading worship, and I was doing sound.
First impressions of Derek Shaw.
Yes.
He was a little bossy for me. I know this is going to be hard to believe, but I am a slightly bossy person myself. And when I met Derek, I started volunteering in the youth department as a youth mentor. And he was also a youth mentor, and he was screaming at his little sister. And I took her home, introduced myself to his parents, and said, "Your son is the biggest jerk I've ever met." And my father-in-law swears on the Bible that he walked inside and looked at my mother-in-law in the eyes and said, "I met our son's wife." That's how we met. It's been a love story ever since.
So Rachel led worship, and of course I mixed the sound. If she would aggravate me in any way or anything, I would just mute her. You know.
And that is so crazy because I'm the sweetest, most loving person on earth.
We got married here in McAlester at her grandma's church.
First Baptist.
Back in 2000. I was nervous as almost passed out on stage.
About 2003, I found out that I was having a baby, and we went through all the excitement and the preparation for that. And when I went to a doctor's appointment, I had lost the baby, but they had found an enormous tumor in my uterus, and I had to start treatments right away for the tumor because they didn't want it to spread and spread to my lungs and all of that. So we began, just 3 years after marriage, having to face losing a child and cancer treatment right away. In 2008 or 2007, we found out that we were expecting again, and we were not prepared for it. We didn't think we could have children. We'd been told by numerous doctors that wasn't going to happen, and so it was a very difficult pregnancy. I was sick a lot, and I might have some genetic heart issues that came into play during the pregnancy. So legitimately, every time we'd go to the doctor, they would say, "You're probably not going to carry full term. We don't want you to get your hopes up. You're probably not going to get to keep him, but you're doing good right now." So it's such an encouraging time in our lives. And we made it full term and produced the most beautiful boy I've ever seen in my life. Fattest cheeks.
Amazing.
He was amazing.
My wife, she went through 40 hours of labor she put up with me while going through it. And to have him, and it was wow, just I cried. It's just God says, "Hey, I got you."
Doctor came to us and said, "Your body's just not gonna handle this anymore. You guys need to consider giving that up." And then from then on, I started having some major heart problems that required surgery to fix. And that's difficult with a toddler.
Very tough.
You know, having to explain and having to make life-altering decisions, like, are we gonna, what's gonna happen if I don't make it through this? And
very tough for us, very tough for me. As the head of the household, you think, what have I done? What have where have I failed?
So when Jackson was 6, I knew that I wanted to adopt. Felt like God was speaking to me that we should adopt. And Derek thought I was insane because we had just gone through pretty much physical trial after physical trial after physical trial, and I'm like, no, God spoke to us. So he prayed about it, and we finally went to talk to an adoption worker, and we walked into the meeting, and the baby, who had never even babbled a word at this point because she had been through some trauma, she looked right at Derek and said, Dada. The women, the great aunts that were taking care of her at the time, nearly fell over because not only had she never spoken, but she knew Derek immediately. And we fell in love instantly.
I know I did, because we met at McDonald's, and going in there I was thinking, okay, we're going to do this, but that's it, we're going to do it. And when she looked at me, I was like, okay, that's mine, that's my baby girl. She's already got daddy.
If you've never met Scotland Shaw and you didn't know that she has Derek Shaw wrapped around her tiniest finger, then you've never seen anything quite like the fall of Derek Shaw. So Waverly K came into our lives in a pretty unique way. I woke up one morning for work, was driving to school, and just this thought just popped into my head. The birth parents are going to have another baby, and it's going to be a girl. And so I called the great aunt and asked if she knew anything, and she said, oh, absolutely not, and called me 4 hours later crying that they were going to have another baby. And so when it became evident that she was going to need to be placed somewhere, I knew that God had spoken to me that it was because she was needing to be placed with us. We were at home one Saturday, and the hospital called and said, your daughter's been born, and we need you here. Can you be here in the next 10 minutes?
And still at that time, I still was not 100% for it, because I was scared. I thought it'd be too much. But Rachel had went to the hospital before me, a few hours before me, and I decided I want to go down there, and I'd walked in, and I had smelt this awful smell, and I thought, what is that smell? And Rachel's like, that's the birth parents. They have not showered in forever. And God just kind of, I don't know if I've ever told Rachel this. God was telling me, you're taking this baby out of a mess, and you're bringing her to me.
So after quarantine of 2020, I went back to teaching, and I felt really, really badly. Just not my normal self. I kept telling Derek, I think something's wrong. I called my heart doctor because it's always my heart. And after having umpteen surgeries on my heart, I just assumed. I finally, in about October, went to the administration of my school and just said, my heart doctor and I've been talking. He thinks it may be the stress of teaching, and I just need to retire. So very unforeseen, quick early retirement at the beginning of November of 2020. In February of 2021, I was getting dressed for work, and the pain was just so out of this world. I I just thought, okay, there's something I'm missing. There's just something going on that I'm not putting my finger on. And it just hit me, like, you need to do a self breast examination. So I did the self exam that day, and I found what I thought was about a grape size lump in my left breast. And my heart just sank, honestly, because I knew I was going to have to tell Derek something else was wrong.
Then she was laying in bed one morning and she says, I think I've got something wrong. And I'm like, I was just in the back of my mind thinking, well, is your heart messed up again? I mean, well, she's like, no, I mean, I've got something that doesn't feel right in my left breast. And I thought it almost was a joke at first, which that ain't nothing to joke about. Because I'm thinking, surely, God, we don't have to go through something else. And
the hardest part of all of this is I heard him crying one night. He was praying. And like when it's you kind of put on this mentality of just like fighting through it. To watch your loved ones walk through something with you can be difficult. And I heard him tell God, how much more can my girl take? And that was probably one of the more difficult nights, to know that it wasn't just me fighting through it. Jackson was having a difficult time. And Jackson's really easygoing and good-natured, just naturally. We don't usually have to get onto him unless it's like pestering his sisters or not cleaning his room for the 1,000th time or taking a shower. Sorry, Jax. He was just in a mood, like he was angry and mouthy, and I just finally broke down and was like yelling at him and like, what is going on with you? And my son said, I don't know what I'm going to do if you die. So it's one thing for your kid to say that and you be, oh, Jesus loves us, we're all going to be okay. But the truth is, I have never lied to my son, except about Santa Claus. Please forgive me about that. But I've never lied to Jax. We've always been real straightforward with him. It's just our personalities. So I couldn't look him in the eye and tell him I was going to be fine. So I have to look him in the eye and say, son, I don't know. I'm doing everything I can to stay alive for you. Well, I mean, the thing about those 3 kids is that I fought every moment to keep them, to get them here, to make them ours, to keep them alive, to put them in the presence of God on a weekly basis. I mean, I have fought. And to be told by doctors that everything you have fought for, you may lose, and there's nothing you can do to stop it, is just a slap in the face. So that was a hard day. So I started chemo pretty quickly after being diagnosed. It all happens really fast. They started me on 4 doses every 2 weeks of something called the Red Devil. It is red, and it is not fun. How to describe chemo? I have lived through some pretty difficult things in my life. chemo will probably make the top 5.
The first time I walked in and saw her today, she looked like she was on her deathbed. That's what chemo had done to her. And I had to turn around and walk out. It just broke my heart.
Chemo causes bone pain and muscle pain and puts you into early menopause. So you're having hot flashes and you're sick. But they pump you full of steroids, so you're puffing out like the Marshmallow Man. And I think maybe the most difficult thing about chemo that nobody wants to talk about is not really the sickness, but the way that it affects how you think, because your body feels like it's dying. So your brain is like, hello, lady, you're not doing well. And so the constant battle between saying, this is what God told me, and what my brain is telling me, this is how you feel, is probably the most difficult thing I have ever lived through. So then we met with our specialist, we are now seeing a specialist in Dallas. And she measured the tumor area, and it appears that my tumor is completely responding to the chemo. It is not chemo resistant, which is a miracle. They scheduled me for a double mastectomy on September 21st.
Tell you, yeah, a few weeks ago, I've always said this, but how much God is, I've never seen a more stronger person than my wife.
I have so many people that love me, have prayed for us, have given to us financially, have walked with us, have picked me up on the really bad days, have encouraged us, so many people. I'm so grateful for every single one of you. You don't know what you've done for us. But the common theme among women that walk through breast cancer is that you're a warrior, you're a badass, you're the strongest person on earth. And can I say, this is just not the case. And if there was a way to beat this on my own, like, I'm tough as nails, I'd do it. I'd carry my 3 kids over hot burning coals up the side of a mountain. I'm like those steel magnolias. Like, if there was a way to do this on my own, and that's been the hardest part of this, is that there is not a way for me to fight this. I can do what they say, I can do everything right, I can eat the right foods, I can take the right medicine, and at the end of the day, I've buried friends. I've buried friends who did everything right. And I can't tell you how many times that God has reminded me of stories in the Bible where they didn't have the strength to do what needed to be done. Moses couldn't save his people. And Joshua couldn't get them where they needed to be. I mean, the walls were too dang thick. How's he supposed to tear down walls they could race chariots on? It was impossible. God constantly has put his people into positions where there is literally no way to fight it on your own. So when they call you a warrior, it's because they don't understand how anyone survives it. But I am telling you from experience, there is no way to survive this without Jesus.
Amen.
There isn't. If I look strong, it's Jesus. If I live through this, it's Jesus. If there's a miracle that I get to sing about later, it's Jesus. If Jesus takes me home, it's Jesus. And one of my favorite, I got to teach at a Christian school. It's literally one of my favorite jobs ever, because I got to teach Bible. So it's like mini preaching sermons every day, which sometimes they loved and sometimes they hated. And one of my favorite stories to teach, and I've told Mark this before, was about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. When they come before Nebuchadnezzar and he commands everybody to bow. And I think with one of the things that isn't often talked about is that there were other Jews in that room. They weren't the only Jews. They weren't the only people of Yahweh. They were the only three that weren't like, hey, let's just do it and get it over with and save our lives and we'll repent later. They stood standing, and of course he threatened them with the furnace. We all know they got put in the furnace. Before they got put in the furnace, one of them said to him, God is able to save us, and God will save us. But even if he doesn't, O great King, we will not bow. And that's kind of been one of my life's mantras. He will. He's able to do this. Can God perform a miracle? Absolutely. Will he do it? Yes, I believe he will. But even if he doesn't, I'm telling you, if there is a point in my life where you don't see my face, and this is my story, this is the last testimony of my life, I want you to know I didn't bow. I can't say that I was never afraid, but I can say I never let fear rule me. I will not let cancer be the testimony of my life. The testimony of my life is that Jesus loved me, saved me, purposed me, commissioned me, and then he called me home. That will be my testimony. These children that you see running around here acting like wild Indians, those are my testimony. I may live another 50 years, and I hope that I do. And I'm fighting to do that. I love this man, and I love those three with all my heart. And I'm grateful for this church and for all of you. But if it doesn't go the way we want it to, that doesn't mean that God is not faithful and that he's not good. It means that he sees something that we don't see. And one of the scriptures that God gave me in all of this is that I would sing miracles, songs of miracles of mercy. So that's what I want. That's what I want my life to be.
Amen.
A song of the mercy and the miracles of God.
Don't my soul.
A story to tell. We all have a story to tell.